Welcome back to the course. In this video, we'll talk about understanding the users. Talking to the people who will use your app is crucial to validate your problem, but it also allows you to get to know them. And you really need to take some time to understand who they are, what their lives are like, and how your product will fit in their lives. Like Henry Ford said, if there is any one secret of success, it lies in the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle as well as from your own. A good way of keeping your user in mind when you design your product is to use personas. A persona is basically a canvas that you fill with details about your target's profile. The canvas is made of 4 blocks: facts, pain, behavior, and goals. The best way to use persona is to first build a proto-persona. The proto-persona is your best guess as to who the user is. It is the customer hypothesis in a more detailed way. So let's start filling the canvas. As you might recall from the last video, our first hypothesis was that college students didn't share pictures from their phones because it's too complicated. So we'll fill facts and pains. Facts are factual relevant information about the user. Defining this also allows us to know exactly who we want to interview. Pain is the problem hypothesis, so for now we don't need to give too many details. Next up is the behavior that the user currently exhibits because he doesn't have our solution. So he keeps most of his pictures on his phone and shares very few of them, and he sometimes sends pictures with his phone by text to his friends when he wants to make sure they see them. And finally, what goal is the potential user trying to accomplish through the behavior that our product will do better? The question we're trying to answer here is not what are they trying to accomplish, but why. It's the first step in the understanding of the user psychology. And understanding the user psychology is a huge asset in design and business. And did you know that Mark Zuckerberg's major in college was psychology? So why are college students sending pictures to their friends by text? I think a fair guess would be that they're trying to get feedback and approbation. You could put a lot of things about the user in the persona, so stay focused on information relevant to the problem and the potential product you're working on. For example, there might be cases where the age or the line of work of the users don't imply much, while the fact that they have a specific device like a smartphone does. Okay, so once your persona is ready, and this shouldn't take more than an hour, you can proceed to the interview in order to validate the problem and the persona. So here are a few tips for your interviews. Talk to your targets, find people who correspond to your persona and get out of the building and go talk to them in person on one-on-one. Define your goals and keep them in mind. Here your goal is not to pitch your solution. You're not trying to convince anyone. You want to make sure the problem you've identified is real. And you want to get to know your potential users better. Get ready to hear things you don't want to hear. Actually, help people tell you things you don't want to hear. Ask open-ended questions. This is really important. When asking about the problem, don't ask people, do you have this problem? But rather, can you tell me about the last time you did X? X being the action that would lead to the problem. And once the person answers, you can add, okay, and did you face any problems while doing that? Rephrase what people tell you. This is a great technique. It will allow you to make sure that you've understood what the person told you and give them the opportunity to add details. Look for insights and make sure to write them down. They'll be useful to refine your persona and useful when you start thinking about a solution once you've validated your problem. Validate with currency. The best form of currency is, of course, money. If you can find people willing to give you money because they want you to solve the problem even though your solution doesn't exist, this means the problem is worth being tackled. But currency can also be email addresses or phone numbers from people who really want to hear from you once your solution is ready. Refine your hypotheses and go test the new ones. This getting out of the building might take some time, and you might have to refine your hypothesis several times, but this is great. This will bring you a lot of insights. Once you've validated your problem and customer hypothesis, you can go back to your persona and fill it with everything you've learned. So let's see what ours could be like. The persona is going to become your best friend, and it's always easier when friends have names, right? So we'll call ours Kevin. You can add a photo or draw a picture if you like. He's not necessarily a college student. He's actually more likely to be 25 and to work in a startup. He does own a smartphone and shares pictures on Facebook from his computer, but most of the time they were taken with his real camera. Pain. Here we can add details about the problem. These details are clues about how we should solve the problem. Phone pictures don't look good, but he doesn't always have his camera with him. And sharing pictures is complicated and there's too much going on Facebook. Next up is behavior. Kevin uses Photoshop but not for pictures taken with his phone, and the next two will right. And we've also learned that the typical user puts pictures on photo networks like Flickr, but it doesn't really get his friends' attention there. And finally, the goal for Kevin is indeed to get feedback and approbation, and he wants to look cool or show his artistic talents. With time, you'll probably have more than one type of people using your product, but for now, stick to one or two if you're working on a two-sided market. Okay, we're done with this lesson. We'll use your homework as a wrap-up. Start by filling your persona. You can find the canvas in the folder of this lesson. And get out and talk to potential users as soon as you can, and remember to ask open-ended questions and to rephrase what they tell you. Also keep in mind that you have two goals: to test your problem and to understand the potential users. Take notes and refine your hypothesis until you validated them, if possible with currency. That's it. Have fun. And in the next lesson, we'll start working on a solution to the problem and we'll turn your brain into an idea factory. See you in a bit.